Good evening, everyone. So every year, the board and the banquet committee here at ICC selects an accomplished individual of Indian origin to receive this ICC Inspire Award. Not only does this person have to be very successful in their chosen field of profession, their personal as well as their professional life should be a huge source of inspiration for the Indian American community. It gives me utmost pleasure, and it is my honor to welcome Dr. Hasan from NASA to receive the ICC Inspire Award this evening. Dr. Hasan not only has been a very, very instrumental person in the recent James Webb Space Telescope project. She has run numerous NASA missions over the past 30 years. Our President, Talat Hasan, will now hand the award over to Dr. Hasan. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Hasan with a huge round of applause. Louder, everyone. Thank you, Talat. Thank you, Dr. Hasan, for being in person here today to accept the award.
So now we'll have a quick fireside chat between Shauli and Dr. Hasan. Dr. Hasan, if you would like to take a seat, I'll give you the microphone. You want me to keep it on the side? Is it okay here now?
It's okay here, Sunny.
Perfect.
Thank you. So this is not going to be very long, and there'll be a chance for audience Q&A at the end. But I'm sure all of you are very curious to hear about Dr. Hasan's interest in NASA, how she made up her mind to come to the US to join NASA. And here's a piece of trivia that I found out about you. You met Yuri Gagarin at the age of 10 in Lucknow, when you were in Lucknow. So tell us about your journey, Dr. Hasan, from there to NASA.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank the ICC for this great honor. I feel greatly humbled, and thank you so much. So I'd like to thank the ICC, first of all, for this great honor. I feel truly honored and humbled, so thank you. Now, talking about Yuri Gagarin, I had always been really fascinated with space when my grandmother took all of us to watch Sputnik go over the clear, dark skies of Lucknow. And then when Yuri Gagarin visited Lucknow, my mother got us invitation to go to a reception that was being held in his honor. And my brother, sister, and I, we rushed to the stage, and he actually shook hands with us and gave us some first day covers. It was a very exciting experience.
So we actually owe your interest to the Russians? Just kidding. Sputnik, yeah, I remember those days. Everyone used to be very motivated. So tell us a little bit, Hashimaji, about how that sparked your interest, and then from AMU to London to here.
Yes, so from AMU, I got a scholarship to Oxford for a PhD in nuclear physics. After that, I came back to India, and then I came to the US as a new bride to North Carolina. And, I came to many crossroads in my life, but my work with NASA really started when I found myself in Baltimore, and I was hired by the Space Telescope Science Institute, which was newly formed at that time, to write the optical model simulation software for the Hubble Space Telescope, which was going to be launched. And so I wrote that software, and I stayed with Space Telescope Science Institute till after Hubble was launched, and then its first servicing mission, and after the optical problem was fixed, I then looked elsewhere, and I saw this ad for a visiting senior scientist at NASA headquarters. So I wanted to take part more in NASA programs, so I joined NASA headquarters. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Wow, fabulous, amazing. Nuclear physics in those days, in age, for someone, of our skin color and our sex. That's not easy, a woman, a brown woman, to make her dent here. So did you encounter any challenges as an immigrant here? We're talking about which year?
I came to the United States, North Carolina, as a fresh new bride at the end of 1979. And women scientists were very few and far between, and women scientists of color were even a greater rarity. And I looked around for a job, and we were in the Research Triangle Park area, and I found a research job at Duke University. I will say that they were, my colleagues in academia were very respectful, but as time went on, I saw that as an immigrant, you really had to be better than the best to get career enhancement and full recognition for your work.
I think everyone in this hall would agree to that, wouldn't you? Thank you so much. That is such an inspiring journey. I cannot believe how many difficulties you might have encountered. And since we have a short time, I'm going to move on to the next question, which is Hubble. So you were with Hubble back in the 90s, right?
Yes.
90s, and now fast forward to 2022, you are such an integral, such an important person that set the James Webb Telescope up in space for us. Tell us a little bit about why that is so unique, so much more important than Hubble. I think everyone remembers how excited we were about the Hubble project when it first launched and went to space. So what is unique and different and special about James Webb?
So I would say that James Webb Space Telescope is really a technological wonder. With its 6.5 meter mirror, enormous, tennis court size sun shield, and 4 powerful instruments, it will help humankind unlock some of the mysteries of the early universe. Hubble has shown us a lot, but it hasn't gone back to really the beginning, the formation of the first stars and galaxies. How did the galaxies evolve? Which came first, the black holes or the galaxies? It'll tell us about planets around other stars. Are the atmospheres, are the Earth-like atmospheres? Would it be able to have a life like as we know it? And also, how were the elements of life formed? So Webb will tell us all that because it has a vision in the infrared. And the importance of infrared is that it helps us look back in time. The light which left stars 300 million years after the Big Bang has now stretched, since the universe is expanding, it has stretched from the blue and ultraviolet into the infrared. So Hubble did not have the ability to measure that light, and also because of the large mirror, we think of the telescope like a light bucket. So the bigger the mirror, the more light it will collect, and the fainter and more distant objects it can see. Also, infrared light penetrates through dust,
Right.
so we are able to see stars forming behind dust. And so this is, in a nutshell, some of the things that Webb will take the Hubble science further.
Fascinating. I'm sure the youth that you're addressing tomorrow here at ICC will be very, very inspired to hear more about these details behind the James Webb technology. And probably a lot of them will jump on the NASA bandwagon just after listening to you and seeing you and interacting with you tomorrow. So thank you also for making time for that. Very important that we continue to inspire and lead the next generation of youth here in the Bay Area. Should we open up for Q&A now to the audience? Sure. Maybe Ruchi, someone else, help me with taking the microphone over to the audience. Ruchi, are you here?
I'll do that, no problem.
Okay, wow. Sunny, thank you.
Questions
really for Dr. Hasan. I'm sure all of you have a lot of questions. No hands? Atik, Mr. Raza. So honored to have you here. There's a lady
Go ahead,
right before you.
You could leave it, darling.
No, the reason is, okay.
It's okay, thank you. I can hold my own microphone. First of all, thank you so much. It's so inspiring to hear your story. But most of all, I think it's your merit and the quality of work you did, which is what America stood for, that is being acknowledged today, and I'm so proud that you were part of that journey. What about the new pictures that came through from the James Webb recent launch? There were 2 new moons that were discovered, I believe. Was there something new that was discovered?
So what about the new pictures that came through after the recent launch? Were there 2 moons that were discovered? Can you share a little bit about the new pictures and the stir that it created all over the globe?
Yes, so we released pictures which address the major science goals of Webb. So we saw the Carina Nebula, where we saw new stars forming. We saw extrasolar planets. In fact, it has actually imaged some extrasolar planets. Those were the later images that came up. We've also looked at planetary atmospheres of extrasolar planets, and there's signs that there's some carbon and maybe water in some of them. We have a nice new image of Jupiter and also of Mars and so on. So we're getting some really very exciting signs. And one image which was just released, I think yesterday, showing 2 interacting stars and the dust lanes that formed as the interactions took place. So we are beginning to learn more about those as well.
Sure.
I was reading somewhere that they've seen a layer of ice where they feel there might be some biological organisms trapped inside. Is that any credence to that theory?
Is there any credence to the theory that there is a layer of ice and so some biological organisms might be trapped in which set of pictures, ma'am? The most recent ones? Yes, the most recent ones.
Yes.
There was ice identified there, right? I know, so she's saying.
Yeah, the scientists are still analyzing the data. It's just too early yet to come to any true conclusions.
Great.
But if there's water, there's hope, right?
Yeah.
Nobody likes life on Earth, I think. Everybody wants to move out there. 2 moons. 2 कड़वा चौथ रखने पड़ेंगे आपको. Sir.
First of all, extremely proud of what you have accomplished. I have a question which I think may be on the minds of many people. You told about how big the mirrors are on the James Webb satellite that has gone up. What about the relative distance of the Hubble telescope from Earth and then the James T. Webb telescope from Earth?
What about the relative difference?
Distance, not
distance,
difference.
Sorry,
distance
from the Hubble telescope and the Earth and the James Webb telescope and the Earth.
Okay.
The distance.
Yes. So the Hubble telescope is in what we call the low Earth orbits, about 300 miles from the Earth, and it orbits the Earth. The James Webb Space Telescope is 1 million miles from the Earth. At a point called L2, which at that point, the gravity of the sun and the Earth almost balance out. So it's a semi-stable point, and James Webb orbits that point. And the reason we have to send it so far from the sun is because the telescope needs to be kept very, very cold. It's observing infrared light, and its own parts, they emit infrared light also, and so does the sun. So we want to protect it from the heat of the sun so that the infrared light that it detects is the one that we are interested in and not its own background light.
Thank you, Dr. Hasan. We have one last question right here to your right.
Dr. Hasan, thank you very much for taking my question. truly amazed at what you've accomplished. My question to you is about the current conversation going on about replicating and moving human consciousness to Mars and making sure that the human species will not get destroyed by accident. What do you think about this type of work that is being promoted by Elon Musk and his colleagues?
Can you repeat that question again? There were two questions in that. I got the Elon Musk one, but the one prior to that, please, sir.
It's the same. What do you think about all these projects that aim to make sure that the human species propagate across the planets? And
So Elon Musk has projects that aim to propagate human species across the entire universe, right? To life outside of planet Earth. The search for a place where the human species can propagate outside Earth. What do you think about these projects?
Well, we certainly are looking for I don't know, I don't have knowledge about the other project, but certainly one of the goals of James Webb is to see if we can find planets which could harbor life as we know it. So we study the atmospheres of planets and see if they have water there, carbon dioxide, and hydrocarbons, which show that there's signs of life. And so we're certainly looking for that. It's one of our goals.
So before we end, a fun fact. I know you were very, very particular and goal-oriented about not just your career, but also your personal life. You knew exactly the kind of person you wanted to marry, if at all, that person would support your career and how he would be your partner. So I know that in my conversation with you recently, that Dr. Hasan's husband, who was in the US, went over to India to meet her. And her dad asked her to travel to Delhi to meet him, and she was in Pune at that time, and she said, "Why should I travel? He needs to travel here to meet me if he wants to marry me." So that was one, and he went over to Bombay, and he was obviously bowled over by this brilliant and beautiful lady next to me. He goes back to Delhi, and in fact, a lot of the relatives here, sitting here, will know the story. He had to field an entire interview panel of cousins and uncles and aunts to see if he was suitable for their very darling Hashima. So, besides your spouse, is there anyone else you would want to credit your extremely successful life to? Mother, father, who do you credit your success in life to?
Yeah, I would say a lot of my family members, but my mother was, I think, very motivational in making sure that her daughters got, and my sister sitting here, got the same opportunities as the sons. My sister, being the oldest, I think didn't quite get the opportunities that I did, and she was actually made to marry much earlier than I did. So,
wow. So hats off to your mom, a family of strong women. Your grandmother started a very famous college in Lucknow. Thank you for being with us today, and she's available to talk to each one of you and answer your questions. Again, so honored and blessed to have you here, Dr. Hasan. Congratulations again.